presented by the PlayStation Network. I'm Veronica Belmont, and we'd like to introduce you to the newest member of the Qore posse, iPet. Audrey Cleo went down to Sony's Santa Monica studios to pick up this little furball, and as you can tell, he's not exactly real, but hey, that may be a good thing. Less mess. Speaking of critters, in our lead story, we visit Insomniac Games to check out the next chapter in the PlayStation's favorite platforming franchise, Ratchet & Clank Future: A Crack in Time. We also wander the wastelands of Pandora looking for the secret alien vault in the role-playing shooter Borderlands. And Audrey hops in the driver's seat at Activision Studios to check out the dazzling visuals and ridiculous racing action of Blur. Plus, we bring you the must-see Blu-ray releases for this month. Cute critters, wasteland wanderers, and reckless racing, all in this episode 17 of Qore, presented by the PlayStation Network. I'll see you on the inside.
The elders once said, time is a living, breathing thing. Powerful, beautiful, and oftentimes cruel. But time itself is not free from jeopardy. There are those who seek to control it, corrupt it, change it to suit their dark will. And if that ever happens, the universe will need a true hero to stop it. Are you ready?
A longtime developer exclusive to PlayStation, Insomniac Games has done more for the PS3 than anyone else, but they're best known for the playful platformer Ratchet & Clank. First released on the PlayStation 2, the franchise has truly progressed with the PlayStation platform. So now they're tightening up all the nuts and bolts for the newest chapter in the series, Ratchet & Clank Future: A Crack in Time. We wrenched our way into their Burbank, California studio to drill them for some answers. And, well, to try on Ratchet's funky gravity boots, of course. So for someone who's never played the rest of the series, what's it like? What's its basis?
The basis is that we have this Lombax named Ratchet who doesn't know anything about his past, and the only family he has is this little robot pal named Clank. And we're really trying to kind of pay attention to the fact that they've been around so long, and now is it time for them to kind of go their separate ways, or is it time for them to kind of renew their friendship and keep going with their adventures? Because as we're going to find out, Clank is not just a defect from a robot factory. He actually has a destiny. Ratchet has a purpose as well, and if those purposes connect, then cool, but if not, it may be time for them to kind of move on and have their own adventures.
I imagine with a title like Crack in Time, there's going to be a lot of time manipulation involved. Can you tell us more about that?
Sure. Clank's going to find out that his destiny has to do with time and the guarding thereof. So Clank actually comes equipped with these time bombs where he can throw them and actually slow down time, so he can do different things. We're also going to find out that time is broken across the galaxy, and that there's all these strange temporal ribbons that also affect time in these different ways. And every time Clank fixes a part of the Great Clock, it's going to fix that part on the planet. So it's pretty cool.
Something is seriously wrong with this planet.
It's like time is all not working.
Tell me a little bit about the side missions that you can embark on in the game.
Side missions are our way of saying that space is definitely huge, and that this is a living, breathing galaxy. It's got these races of creatures that live in it, have their own problems and own things that they're dealing with at the same time that the story is going on. So it's really a great way for us to say, hey, you know, there's this story that you can follow, but there are also all these side quests, all these fun little adventures that you can go on if you want to. So they just kind of add life to the galaxy.
Ratchet & Clank is one of the few remaining platformers for the current generation of consoles. Do you think that genre still has life in it, or do you think it's getting too sidetracked by adding racing elements and other play styles built in within it?
I think the platform genre is very much alive. It's definitely taken a hit because, you know, everyone wants first-person shooters these days. Everyone, you know, the big thing right now is everything's apocalyptic, everything's dark. But yes, after a while, like I feel as a gamer and a writer that we're kind of swimming in a sea of sameness. You know, so I think that not only having a platform, but having a platform like Ratchet, which is just more fun, and it's family friendly. It's the kind of stuff that adults can get, but kids can get too, and it's more about the crazy weapons, the crazy things that you can do. I think there's very much room for that.
Well, A Crack in Time actually leaves off where Quest for Booty ended. It's wrapping up the major story arc that we started with Tools of Destruction. Clank was captured by the Zoni, and now Ratchet's searching for his best friend. In Quest for Booty, Ratchet found a little clue to lead him to the Brigus system where Clank is located. There's a lot more Clank gameplay in this game than any other Insomniac game before it. And it's really given us the opportunity to focus more on Clank, give him more abilities, and tell more about his story.
Are we going to learn more about Ratchet's background, more about his history?
Absolutely. This is something that a lot of fans have been asking about. And we've introduced a new Lombax character, which is the same race as Ratchet, named Alistair Azimuth. Azimuth actually has a lot of information to give Ratchet about the history of the Lombaxes, why they disappeared, and answer a lot of fans' biggest questions.
One of my favorite parts about the series are the weapons. Can you tell me more about what weapons we'll see in this title?
Absolutely. You know, that Insomniac Games really prides ourselves on being able to come up with very creative weapons. We've got the Sonic Eruptor in this game, which is like this big creature that Ratchet holds and he can fire, like creates these like giant belches that blows enemies away. We've got the Plasma Striker, which is kind of like this really cool sniper rifle. And when you go into the scope mode, you can see the weak spots of the enemies. Of course, we've got the Groovatron, which is a big favorite that causes enemies to dance out of control. So there's a lot of fun stuff, and it's really fun when you can layer these weapons together. Hi, I'm Brian Allgeier, the creative director of Ratchet & Clank Future: A Crack in Time, and I'm here to talk about my top 10 favorite weapons of all time. The first one is the Groovatron. It is a disco ball that Ratchet would throw out into a group of enemies and watch them spontaneously dance. It was what we called a comedic and strategic weapon. You would get some good laughs watching the enemies dance, but it would also stun them long enough that you could then take them out. One of my favorite weapons from Going Commando is the lava gun. This was a gun that Ratchet could use against large groups of enemies. He could spin around in circles, the enemies would come up to him, they'd get burned by the fire, and it was very handy in tight situations. The lava gun later would upgrade to the meteor gun, but it was interesting because we got a lot of complaints or criticisms for changing the functionality of the weapon. And so when we put the lava gun back into a pure arsenal, we decided to change it to the liquid nitrogen gun, which had the same effect as the lava gun, except it would freeze enemies. And then there was the Agents of Doom that was in the first Ratchet & Clank. Ratchet would throw out this egg that would spawn these little robot dudes, which would then track down enemies and explode on contact. We brought them back for the third game where they upgraded to the Agents of Dread. They flew around with these little jetpacks and would fire out rockets, blowing up enemies to bits. Next we've got the Suck Cannon. This was a classic weapon that was introduced in the first Ratchet & Clank and allowed Ratchet to suck up enemies and then shoot them back out at other enemies. So it was very satisfying to fill up your Suck Cannon with a bunch of bad guys and then fire them back out at their friends. It was also useful in sucking up crates and bolts, so you could collect things from afar. In the first Ratchet & Clank there was the decoy glove, and this was an inflatable Ratchet that you could toss out. And it's kind of funny because here we've got this big inflatable toy that was obviously not Ratchet, yet all the enemies were so dumb that they thought it was him. What was really fun about that weapon was we got these cool promotional items, which were these small inflatable Ratchets that we had around the office. Every once in a while someone might like walk into one or step on one and you hear this big pop sound. Another fun weapon, which was really a device, was mysterioZ. And this was kind of like previous weapons that were synthenoids. These are small robots that would float above Ratchet's shoulder and they would shoot any target that was within range. He would have a taunt or phrase for every enemy that he killed.
Stupid lizard thingy, Mr. Zircon will kill you.
In the third Ratchet & Clank game, we introduced the Rift Inducer, and that was a weapon where Ratchet could fire out these black holes that would suck enemies into them. Later, it would upgrade to the Rift Ripper that would suck enemies in and shoot out lightning bolts to take them out. We also have the Bouncer, which was a weapon we designed at the last minute. It later upgraded the heavy bouncer, which would shoot out this large bomb that would split off into little bomblets that would then bounce around and track towards enemies and blow them up. It was very satisfying to use. A great weapon from the third game was the Plasma Whip, and this was a great melee weapon that was a fiery whip that Ratchet could use to sweep enemies and take them out. It later would upgrade to the Quantum Whip, which would send out waves of energy, taking out even more bad guys. And finally, there's the Rhino, which was a series staple. This was the big uber weapon that everyone was saving their bolts up for. You had to oftentimes get millions of bolts to be able to buy this highly expensive weapon that was super powerful and would obliterate all enemies on screen. It was very satisfying to use and very hard to get. In Ratchet & Clank Future Tools of Destruction, the way the player got the Rhino was finding lots of little blueprints, and they had to travel all around the galaxy to find the blueprints to give to the smuggler, who would then later assemble the Rhino for you. We've had the Rhino 2, the Rhythrino, which I believe stood for rip you 3 new ones. There was also the Rhino 4. Came after the Rhino 3.
Very clever.
Yeah, it was very clever. So Ratchet & Clank Future: A Crack in Time is coming this fall with a whole new arsenal of weapons, and maybe you'll see one of yours in the lineup.
By using the groundbreaking technology of the PlayStation Eye, London Studio is taking the virtual pet into the next generation with iPet, an adorable new addition to the PlayStation family. And I'm in Santa Monica with the game's producers to get the scoop on this cute critter and also find out how something called Augmented Reality makes iPet about as real as you can get without having to pick up pet poop.
Okay, so augmented reality is just a fancy term to explain the technological wizardry that allows the PlayStation Eye camera to read the 3D space of your crib and react to your motions by reading the changes in light. All this allows you to interact with your iPet in realistic ways that will make any real pets jealous. And unlike your real pet, iPet will let you dress it up any way you like and play games with you that your pet just can't.
I'm with Emerson, a producer on iPet. So what makes iPet different from any virtual pet before it?
What makes iPet different is you can actually interact with the pet in real life. You can reach out and touch it. And so he doesn't just live on your screen, he lives in your living room as well. We wanted to make sure that everybody gets to customize and feel like they own their own pet. And so while the pet initially does look the same, players will be able to customize it whatever way they want. So you can change the length of the hair, the color of the hair. You can also give it clothing, so you can give it a different hat or different tops. iPet has several different toys. A couple of ones that we're going to see today are an airplane and an RC car. And the cool part about this is you actually get to draw on a piece of paper however you want that toy, and it comes to life, and your iPet gets to interact with it.
Just like a real pet, you have to make sure that iPet is healthy. So what kind of steps do you have to take to do that?
Right, there's other stuff. It isn't just feeding him. It's also giving him a bath and checking him as well with the X-ray. And the way that works is you hold a magic card up and you scan your pet and you get to see different parts of your pet. So if you see the stomach and it says that it's hungry, then you know that it's hungry. Or you might be able to scan his muscles and see that he hasn't gotten enough exercise, and so you want to interact with him a little bit more. There's also this really cool thing where if everything's quiet, your pet falls asleep and he has pet dreams. So the cool part about that is randomly during the game, it takes video of you interacting with it. So while the pet dreams, a little thought bubble comes up and he'll dream about you interacting with it. We feel like this is the beginning, and there's much more to come. I mean, you almost forget that you're playing a game.
So here's how all this works. Obviously you need the PlayStation Eye camera, but you'll also need some room to play. Usually a tidy floor works best. Then you'll need to position your PlayStation Eye about 16 inches from the play surface and tilt it down. Once you have all that set, just place the magic card on the flat surface, and that's when the fun begins. There really are a ton of things you can do with your iPet. iPet really feels like the future of entertainment, and we can't wait to see what other games will be created using this and other technologies on the horizon.
Borderlands is fun because it takes the fun and thrill and excitement of a first-person shooter, along with the leveling up and growth and depth of a role-playing game, and allows you to play both of them together with your friends cooperatively online.
The trouble with first-person shooters is your character doesn't undergo any growth usually, or the growth is very minor. You don't have ownership of the character. The trouble with RPGs a lot of the time is you're bogged down in dialogue trees and stuff that's taking you out of the action. We've solved that problem. Borderlands has extremely fast-paced action, but we have the growth, the customization, the leveling up that you want out of an RPG.
You're really customizing your character. It's unlike any other shooter in this regard because you are changing the way that you play the game.
You play it the way that you want to play it. You make your character who you want your character to be.
Borderlands is the story of 4 treasure hunters looking for the famed vault on Pandora. Nobody knows what's in the vault. It all kind of wraps together because in a game about treasure hunting and finding loot, it made sense that our end game and where you're going is basically like the ultimate loot, the ultimate prize.
The problem is this planet is filled with marauders and bandits and hostile alien wildlife. It's a difficult task, so you bring your friends along with you to help you find this vault. There's 4 different classes in Borderlands. There's soldier, the tank, the sniper, and the siren. And each one of them you can grow and customize into something that suits you and suits your play style as you play.
The Gear Builder AI that we've created makes over 17 million different weapons. I mean, the number doesn't even matter at this point.
I think that's something that gets passed over with us is how all of the loot in our game is very organic and upgradable. Like, instead of just having 1 grenade or choosing 2 grenade types, we decided the grenade should work like the guns. So your basic grenade, just throw it, it blows up. Yeah, we have sticky grenades, we have grenades that shoot into the air. They can rate fire or shock. I mean, you can upgrade them in any way.
I have seen rocket launchers that shoot out spiraling rockets 3 at a time.
You can find machine guns that shoot electricity.
Things that melt people's faces off.
Some that teleport, called the longbow, like you throw it and it teleports to another location. It's interesting how expansive our loot is.
Originally, we were designing the game to have a realistic style, but as we progressed, we felt that it needed something a little bit more. So then we invented the concept art style, which had more vibrancy and was more rich and interesting to look at than what we had previously had. And it stood out more from all the other titles that we were surrounded by.
The art style adds a lot of character and personality to our game. We can do a lot of over-the-top crazy things in this style that we couldn't do in the realistic style, and they come across really well.
It's impossible not to talk about. It draws you in, and that's really all that matters to us. We set out to make a beautiful game, and we all feel like we did.
From the very start, from when we first started designing Borderlands, we knew that we wanted this to be a 4-player co-op game.
There are definitely times when it pays to have someone else on your side. There's combat and battles and situations where it really helps to have someone with complementary skills and abilities.
We wanted to allow players to jump in and out of co-op at any time because you want to be able to join a game that's already in progress. You don't want to be shut out because, oh, we've already started, sorry, you were too late.
Playing with your friends, getting loot, shooting bad guys, what else could you really ask for?
I'm Audrey Cleo in Santa Monica. With so many racing games to play on the PS3, the competition's tough as can be, and sometimes the selections just kind of blur together. But Blur, Activision's new powered-up racing title, is destined to stand out from the pack. What's their formula? Take 1 part arcade-style driving fun, soup it up with some supercharged cars, add in a fantastic 20-player online mode, 4-player split screen, and one heck of a storyline. Let's see what makes this game go vroom. I'm here with Lip Ho, associate producer for Blur. Okay, Lip, what makes Blur different from any other racing game out there?
Well, Blur is pretty much powered up racing, and we're just really trying to bring the fun back to the racing genre. You can shunt people, you can barge people, you can drop mines, and you can just have a great time. All the cars that we have in the game are licensed. So we have manufacturers from Ford, from Nissan, Toyota, Dodge, from Lotus, just a huge variety of cars. We have cars that range from your tuner and imports to American muscle cars to some exotic cars as well. All in total, it's 50 plus cars that we have in the game that all have realistic damage.
Take me through some of the power-ups in this game.
Sure. So one of the power-ups that we have in the game is called Shunt. Shunt is kind of this forward attack that once you get someone lined up, you can fire it out and it'll flip them over. We also have Barge, which is this other attack where it's almost like someone's to your left or to your right. You hit that and you're elbowing them and knocking them out of the way. Shock is this power-up effect where it's a ranged attack where you fire it off and anyone that gets hit by it will seize up. It's kind of like getting hit with a taser. Where they will suffer electrical failure in their car and the brakes will clamp and they're just stunned. This other powerful effect we have is called Nitro. Nitro is this quick boost of speed that will get you right back in the race. And we also have shields in the race, which allows you to defend yourself. So those offensive power-ups that you might run into, you also have shield to deflect any of those power-ups. The last one that we have is mines. So mines is just that. You kind of lay a mine behind you on certain corners or right in front of another power-up, and other cars will run into it and spin out, and it's just great fun. So what happens in Blur is as you progress through the game, the whole point is trying to gain more fans and get more popular. In order to do that, it's just by doing a lot of cool stuff, using your power-ups, drifting, and basically by doing that, you'll kind of chain and combo and gain more fans as you progress along. With the fans at the end of the race, those fans will actually donate cash to you. So the more fans that you have, the more upgrades that will be unlocked. And with the cash, you can actually purchase those upgrades.
I know Blur can support up to 20 players in online multiplayer. I mean, that's kind of a lot for a racing game.
Yeah, that is a lot of players in a racing game. Everyone's always battling for position, jockeying back and forth, and just having a great time. And every race, it's this unpredictable race to the finish.